Please do not feign ignorance regarding your actions. My mother raised her voice significantly over the phone, prompting me to hold the device away from my ear. We are a family. It is not appropriate to withdraw your support due to personal grievances. I remained seated in my home office, observing the April rain striking the windows of my Burlington townhouse, experiencing an unusual blend of numbness and anger. The understanding I held regarding my family has been fundamentally challenged due to an inadvertent text message sent by my brother Kevin to our family group chat, rather than the private one intended for our parents. My name is Jordan Wright. I am 35 years old, and until yesterday, I believed I was fulfilling my responsibilities as a supportive daughter by assisting my parents with their retirement expenses. After completing my college education, I established a successful marketing consulting business from its inception. 5 years ago, when the business began to thrive, I started providing my parents with additional financial support on a monthly basis. They have consistently faced financial challenges, and I aimed to ensure they could enjoy their retirement without the burden of basic expenses. I was unaware of how they truly perceived me. The family ATM has just dispensed an additional $3. My father responded to a text message my brother had sent. It is amusing to observe that she remains unaware of the situation and continues to support our endeavors. Subsequently, my mother, I have recently purchased the golf clubs that your father expressed interest in. If Jordan knew her funds were going to golf clubs instead of medication, she would be furious. The screenshots continued to surface, revealing years of discussions focused on how to manipulate my emotions, exploit my sympathies, and extract additional financial resources. I found it difficult to breathe as I reviewed message after message. Kevin attempted to delete them promptly, however. It was already too late. I had observed everything. For 3 years, I have observed them mock my generosity, organizing costly vacations while asserting that they could not afford their medications and upgrading their vehicles while stating that their heating bills were straining their budget. Over the past day, I have received numerous texts and calls from my family. My father asserted that they were merely engaging in playful banter. My mother indicated that I was misinterpreting the situation. Kevin stated that he was merely complying with the situation in order to maintain a favorable relationship with our parents. However, their own statements had revealed the unpleasant reality. The rain outside grew more intense, reflecting the turmoil I was experiencing within. I had been providing financial support for their comfortable retirement for several years, believing that I was assisting them in maintaining their livelihood. Meanwhile, they had been enjoying themselves, finding amusement in how effortlessly they could influence their accomplished daughter. The betrayal was more profound than I had anticipated. A sudden knock disrupted my contemplation. I approached the door, still holding my phone, and peered through the peephole. Kevin was standing on my porch, drenched, with a look of desperation on his face. I experienced a tightening sensation in my jaw. Although I was unprepared for this conversation, it may be worth considering his words. Ultimately, I also had some points to express. I opened the door but obstructed the entrance. "What is your request?" Kevin appeared quite disheartened, with rain cascading from his hair. "Jordan, kindly proceed. May I enter, please? I am able to provide a comprehensive explanation of all relevant matters. Could you please clarify what you would like me to explain? It appears that I have been the subject of amusement for an extended period." I raised my phone, the display still showing one of his messages. "I have informed Jordan that his father requires dental surgery. Transaction successful. It is not as it appears," Kevin implored, his voice trembling. "My parents, they initiated the process, and I simply followed their lead. Were you merely adhering to directives? It seemed as though you were demonstrating a high level of financial control or authoritarian behavior." The remarks were more severe than I had intended, however. I was unable to restrain myself. "I have been transferring $3 on a monthly basis. Kevin, the annual amount is $36. This amount is calculated over a period of 5 years. Are you aware of the total that results from that calculation?" Kevin cast his gaze downward. "I understand that it may seem overwhelming. $180. Kevin, this amount does not account for the additional expenses related to my father's alleged medical costs or the repairs needed for my mother's broken furnace last winter. I experienced discomfort while articulating those words. Recalling how I had foregone a vacation to provide them with an additional $5 for a furnace that seemingly did not require replacement. It is evident that they have exceeded reasonable limits, however. It is important to consider that they are maturing in. They are 65 years old. Not 95. My father continues to play golf every weekend using the premium clubs that I purchased for him. All while I believed he required medication. I was raising my voice, unconcerned about whether the neighbors could hear me. Jordan, there seems to be a significant level of concern among the team. My father is concerned about his heart medication. I expressed a bitter laugh. Is he referring to the non-existent medication? Alternatively, the essential medication he requires, for which I have been covering the costs, while others allocate funds towards luxury items. Kevin's expression became distressed. I acknowledge that I made an error. They require your assistance at this time. They need your help with all those additional items. They have adapted to the lifestyle. They are unable to meet their mortgage obligations without your assistance, despite indicating to me that they were experiencing difficulties in paying rent for their modest apartment. Their mortgage on the lakeside condominium they purchased last year remains unpaid. A sense of unusual tranquility began to envelop me. I believe it would be best for you to depart. Jordan, kindly proceed. No, I have been Jordan for an extended period. I am currently known as Jordan. Jordan has completed his tasks. Following Kevin's departure, I settled onto my couch, my body experiencing a noticeable tremor. The images from their group chat continuously replayed in my thoughts. In one instance, my father noted, "I have just informed Jordan that the roof is leaking. Let us evaluate the extent of our potential outcomes in this instance." My mother responded, "She is very inclined to assist family members. I feel a sense of regret." Nearly. Subsequently, Kevin, it may be prudent to establish a betting pool regarding the timeline for her remittance of the funds. I had been perceived solely as a source of financial support for them. A resource that is being depleted. This was quite amusing. I retrieved my laptop and accessed my banking portal. For the past 5 years, it has consistently appeared every month. A sum of $3 has been transferred to my parents' joint account. Additionally, all emergencies must be considered. An additional $40 accumulated over the years. Dental procedures that were not performed. The automobiles were repaired for issues that did not exist. Medical invoices for services that were not rendered. What sacrifices had I made? I postponed purchasing my own home for 2 years to assist them with their alleged mortgage difficulties. I dedicated 60-hour work weeks to support both my lifestyle and that of others. I forewent vacations, purchased second-hand furniture, and made sacrifices in my own life to ensure their comfort. What is the purpose of this? Consequently, they were able to find entertainment at my expense. They were able to purchase golf clubs and take cruises while I was concerned about whether they were maintaining a proper diet. I accessed a new tab and logged into the investment account that I established for them 3 years prior. I have devised a plan to present them with a supplemental retirement fund upon their 70th birthday. I have been making monthly contributions of $1. The balance indicated slightly more than $42. I contemplated the decision to close my account. The number is not available at this time. I required a clear mindset for this task. I contacted my close friend Megan, who also serves as my attorney. What actions did they take? She reacted with considerable intensity when I outlined the situation. I acknowledge that I previously stated this. My voice lacking resonance. I acknowledge that I made an unwise decision. Negative. Jordan, your kindness is appreciated. They are the individuals who ought to feel a sense of shame. Her tone became gentler. What actions would you like to take? I am uncertain. I acknowledged. A portion of me is inclined to sever all ties with them entirely. Another aspect seeks to engage with them and allow them the opportunity to articulate their reasoning. Prior to proceeding, it is essential that we review the legal arrangements you have established for them. Are they associated with any of your accounts? What are the available insurance policies? Could you please provide more information regarding the retirement supplement you referenced? I experienced a sensation of coldness. I hadn't previously contemplated the diverse financial ties between us. In addition to the monthly transfers and the investment account, I included them as dependents on my premium health insurance policy 2 years ago. The heart medication prescribed to my father, the validity of which I now question, was included in my insurance plan coverage. They were designated beneficiaries on my life insurance policy. I expressed the need to clarify the situation. Megan advised taking one step at a time. Initially, compile all documentation pertaining to what has been provided to them. This includes bank statements, messages soliciting financial assistance, and any other relevant documentation. Secondly, compile a comprehensive list of all financial connections that require termination. Third, determine whether you wish to discuss the reasons behind your decision with them. Upon concluding the call, I received a text message from my mother. Your father is quite distressed. His blood pressure has significantly increased due to your actions. It is imperative that we have a discussion at this moment. A sense of resolve developed within me. The manipulation continues to occur. Even at this moment, they maintained the belief that I would capitulate, that I would respond immediately upon the mention of a health concern. That is no longer the case. I reopened my laptop and commenced capturing screenshots of each monthly transfer. I initiated a document entitled Family Financial Support, 5 years, in which I meticulously recorded each dollar, every anticipated emergency, and all sacrifices I had made. Upon completion, the document extended to 12 pages. And the reality was undeniable. I experienced more than just emotional pain. I have completed my tasks. The following morning, I awoke with a sense of clarity that I had not experienced in years. My direction moving forward became distinctly evident. Prior to any uncertainty arising, I contacted the office to inform my assistant that I required a personal day. This will necessitate my complete focus. Jordan Wright is speaking. I responded when my phone rang 20 minutes later. Good afternoon, Ms. Wright. This is Samuel representing Vermont Community Bank. I am following up on your call regarding the closure of an investment account. Affirmative. I appreciate your prompt response. I inhaled deeply. I would like to proceed with the closure of the supplemental retirement account established for Robert and Patricia Wright. I understand. Could you please inform me if there is an issue with the account? There are no issues with the account. I stated. There is an issue concerning the designated recipients. Upon verifying my identity and authority regarding the account, Samuel guided me through the process. Since I held exclusive control over the account, we designated it as a gift. I could finalize it without my parents' awareness or approval. The amount of $42.680 will be transferred back to my primary account within 3 business days. Is there anything further I can assist you with today, Ms. Wright? Indeed, that is correct. I would like to request the cancellation of all recurring transfers to the joint account held by Robert and Patricia Wright. Is the current monthly amount of $3 correct? Is this correct? My voice remained steady. I request an immediate halt to this. Step 1 has been successfully completed. I subsequently contacted my health insurance provider. This task presented a greater level of complexity. Changes to dependents mid-year necessitate a qualifying life event, and the realization that your parents have been deceiving you was not included in the criteria. After discussing my situation with a compassionate representative named Miguel, he was able to identify a solution. As they maintain their own residence and you no longer provide more than 50% of their financial support, we can proceed with processing this as a change in dependent status. He explained. They will be notified of their removal from your policy, effective at the end of the month, providing them with 30 days to secure alternative coverage. That is ideal, I stated. Thank you for your understanding. Miguel remarked thoughtfully that family situations can be complex. I have experienced that personally. We have successfully completed Step 2. The modification to the life insurance policy was the most straightforward adjustment. An online form inadvertently removed my parents as beneficiaries and designated a local children's charity in their place. By noon, I had methodically severed all financial ties to my family, with the exception of my brother Kevin's student loan, which I have been servicing for the past 3 years. There are still 2 years remaining for payments at a monthly rate of $580. That particular instance caused me to reflect. Kevin was involved in the deception, however. He appeared to express genuine remorse. Was he influenced by our parents? Did he truly feel remorse? Or was he just regretting his discovery? I received a text message from Kevin on my phone. My parents are quite concerned. My father told me that the pharmacy denied his prescription refill. Could you please provide details on your actions? That addressed the inquiry. There was no acknowledgement or expression of understanding. Only an increased emphasis on the need to reinstate the financial flow. I responded that their consequences are no longer my concern. The phone rang immediately. Kevin. I directed the call to voicemail. I proceeded to open my email and draft a formal letter to my parents. Attaching the 12-page document I had prepared the previous night. I have titled it, Financial Support Provided from 2018 to 2023. The email stated, attached are the detailed records of the financial support I have provided over the past 5 years, amounting to a total of $221.865. This encompasses monthly transfers, emergency funds, medical expenses, and the supplemental retirement account that I have established on your behalf. Effective immediately, all recurring transfers have been halted. Your status as dependents has been terminated from my health insurance policy. Effective May 31st, and the retirement account has been closed. Your actions have been recorded with screenshots of your own communications, demonstrating a pattern of manipulation and deception, while also undermining my goodwill. Please don't get in touch with me again unless it's about repaying the money you received under false pretenses. Is it Jordan? I reviewed the document twice, attached it, and proceeded to send it. Step 3 is now complete. Subsequently, I blocked their numbers on my phone, removed them from my social media accounts, and settled back in my chair, feeling both fatigued and relieved. After several years, I finally experienced a sense of financial independence. I successfully maintained 3 days of uninterrupted silence before they discovered a method to bypass my restrictions. The doorbell rang at 8:30 p.m. I was in the process of reviewing client proposals. Looking through the peephole, I observed my parents and Kevin on the porch, their expressions reflecting a combination of anger and concern. I did not open the door. I opted to contact Megan instead. They are present at my residence, I whispered, as though they might overhear me through the walls. She firmly asserted that we should not grant them entry. If they refuse to leave, please contact law enforcement to report trespassing. That appears to be excessive. Please have confidence in my judgment. Jordan, once they are inside, it will be significantly more challenging to remove them, both physically and emotionally. The doorbell rang once more, accompanied by a series of knocks. Jordan, my father called out, we are aware that you are inside. It is important to engage in communication before making any decisions that may affect us. I have sent a message to Kevin. I currently have no comments to provide. I kindly request that you leave the premises, or I will have to contact law enforcement. I observed Kevin through the peephole as he checked his phone, displayed it to my parents, and subsequently engaged in what seemed to be a heated discussion. My mother appeared to be in tears, while my father's complexion had taken on a concerning shade of red. Ultimately, they departed, but not before my father exclaimed, "You will come to regret this. Jordan, we are a family. It is not acceptable to leave us without support." I found it quite ironic that he chose to use the term abandon. They had long since abandoned any pretense of affection for me, seeing me as nothing more than a tool. The following morning, the email correspondence commenced. My mother composed an extensive message expressing concern regarding my father's deteriorating health in the absence of his medication. My father sent a brief message requesting that I cease this immature behavior immediately. Kevin expressed that our parents were unable to meet their mortgage payment obligations without my assistance. I have forwarded each message to Megan without providing a response. 3 days later, I received a certified letter from my parents. Within the contents was a handwritten note from my mother. Jordan, we are seeking clarification regarding the rationale behind the current disciplinary measures being imposed upon us. Indeed, we engaged in some humor that may not have been appropriate, but such interactions are common within families. The monthly cost of your father's heart medication is $450 in the absence of insurance coverage. The mortgage payment is due next week, and we are unable to cover it without your assistance. There is a possibility that we may lose our condominium. Is that your desired outcome? Is it possible for your elderly parents to be without a home? We kindly request that you cease this behavior and engage in a dialogue with us. I found a comment regarding the elderly quite amusing. Both individuals were 65 years old and in excellent health, according to the country club photos inadvertently included in one of the screenshots by Kevin. My father's golf game has reached an unprecedented level of excellence. I contacted the pharmacy where my father had his prescriptions filled. Assuming the identity of my mother, I am inquiring about the heart medication for my husband, Robert Wright. What is the cost in the absence of insurance coverage? The pharmacist stated. Allow me to verify. After a brief moment, the cost is $42 for a 30-day supply. Mrs. Wright, the amount is not $450. This statement is inaccurate. That evening, Kevin arrived at my office as I was preparing to depart. He appeared unwell, with noticeable dark circles under his eyes and disheveled clothing. He positioned himself in front of me and asked for Jordan. They are deteriorating. My father is discussing the topic of bankruptcy. I indicated that it was not my concern and attempted to navigate past him. What accounts for your apparent lack of warmth? They are our parents. Are they indeed? Genuine parents do not take advantage of their children. Responsible parents do not mock their children in private regarding their perceived naivety or lack of understanding. They committed errors, however. Negative. I interrupted him. An oversight is failing to remember a birthday. Their actions were both calculated and cruel. I have known Kevin for several years. The condominium is entering foreclosure proceedings. Your assistance is essential for them to fulfill their payment obligations. I experienced a brief sense of guilt but then recalled a screenshot. I have successfully communicated to Jordan that we are facing challenges with our rent payments. Next week, we plan to finalize the purchase of the Lake condominium. Thank you. It was my opinion that they should not have purchased a property that was beyond their financial means. What is the status of Dad's medication? The prescription is priced at $42, rather than $450. He may consider securing employment at Walmart if he requires additional financial support. Kevin's eyes became noticeably larger. Could you please explain how you? I conducted my research. It is imperative that we maintain honesty. Kevin, I proceeded past him to my vehicle. Please advise them to explore government assistance programs. That is their intended purpose. Jordan, he called out to me. There are discussions regarding the possibility of them moving in with me. I am unable to manage that situation. I retraced my steps. That appears to be an issue for you. Kevin, welcome to the realm of consequences. 2 weeks after severing ties with my family, I found myself in a therapy session that I had finally arranged for my own well-being. Dr. Bennett, a woman in her 50s with a compassionate demeanor and a straightforward approach, attentively listened as I detailed the entire account. I experience fluctuations between feeling strong and feeling quite unwell on a daily basis. I acknowledged. Yesterday, I learned from a mutual acquaintance that my parents have had to cancel their country club membership. I experienced a sense of guilt regarding the matter for several hours. That is a normal occurrence. Dr. Bennett stated. You are experiencing grief for the family you believed you had. This encompasses processing the role you fulfilled as their supporter. However, they were not worthy of my support. They were using me to their advantage. It is possible for both statements to be accurate simultaneously. They were not worthy of your support. And it is understandable to feel a sense of loss regarding its cessation. I reflected on this matter while Dr. Bennett continued his discussion. The role of a family provider has evidently become an integral aspect of your identity. You are currently redefining your identity independent of that role. I had not considered that perspective. But she was indeed correct. For 5 years, I have associated my self-worth with being the successful daughter capable of providing support to my parents. Who am I at this moment? Upon concluding my session, I received an unexpected call from my Uncle Pete, my father's brother residing across the country in Oregon. Although we were not particularly close, I responded due to my curiosity. Could you please clarify if you are referring to Jordan? This is your Uncle Pete. I received an unusual call from your father inquiring whether he and your mother could stay with us for a period of time. He indicated that you would terminate their financial support, which could result in them losing their home. Is that accurate? I exhaled audibly. The situation is quite complex. Uncle Pete, I understand. Your father has consistently demonstrated a remarkable ability for selective storytelling. His tone was unembellished. Would you like to share your perspective? I provided a comprehensive explanation, detailing the information from the screenshots as well as the inaccuracies regarding medical expenses. Upon completion, a prolonged silence ensued. It comes as no surprise that he ultimately expressed this sentiment. Your father attempted to engage in similar behaviors with me several years ago. The reason for our lack of closeness is evident. I am unwilling to support his lifestyle financially. Were you aware? I experienced a renewed sense of betrayal. Could you please provide an explanation for the lack of information? Would you have trusted my assertion? They successfully led you to believe that they were facing difficulties, positioning you as their savior. There are instances when individuals must uncover the truth on their own. He was correct. I would have found it difficult to believe him. He stated that he informed your father that he would not accept them. I recommended that they consider downsizing and managing their finances more effectively. He terminated the call abruptly. Following our disconnection, I experienced a sense of validation. I believe my decision to sever ties was justified. I was not an inadequate daughter. They have recently turned me into their latest manipulative target. And I have finally gained insight. That evening, I received a message from Kevin using a new phone number. My parents will be relocating to my spare room next week. Someone is offering to sell the condo. My father is quite upset about the situation. I find it difficult to comprehend that this situation is occurring. I did not provide a response. I sent a subsequent message 3 days later. The condominium is currently available for sale. Yesterday, the bank repossessed my father's vehicle. The situation is deteriorating significantly. I nearly responded, considering inquiring if they required assistance with moving expenses. However, I recalled a specific screenshot in which Kevin had noted, Jordan just inquired about Dad's well-being following his doctor's appointment. This was in reference to the non-existent heart issue. Humorous laughter. They had arrived at their decisions. They are now facing the repercussions of their actions. During the third week, I received an email from an unfamiliar name. What was the subject matter under discussion? The topic of discussion pertains to the communication from your parents. It appears that they have engaged a family friend to make contact. As I have blocked them on all platforms. The message outlined the necessity of selling the majority of their furniture. The decline in my father's health due to the associated stress, and their application for food assistance, which my father viewed as a source of humiliation. The email concluded with a request for an opportunity to discuss matters further, as well as to provide an explanation and an apology. I contemplated the matter briefly before proceeding to delete it. Their concept of an apology appears to be whatever they believe could potentially restore financial support. I've reached a critical juncture where I refuse to succumb to manipulation or regard myself as a financial resource. For the first time in years, I was allocating my financial resources to my future instead of dealing with fabricated emergencies. The sense of guilt was diminishing, supplanted by an unforeseen emotion. Liberty. 6 months after severing all communication, I returned home from a business trip to discover my parents seated on the steps of my porch. My father had experienced weight loss, and my mother's meticulously maintained highlights had faded, exposing gray roots. Both of them wore unfamiliar clothes that looked less expensive than their usual attire. My initial inclination was to reverse and depart. Dr. Bennett and I have previously discussed this possibility during our therapy sessions. I have become stronger now. I can face them head-on without succumbing to their influence. I parked in the driveway and approached with caution, my heart racing. Could you please clarify your presence here? Jordan. My mother's voice trembled. We would like to request a conversation. We have gained valuable insights. My father remarked. The past few months have been quite challenging. I have unlocked my door. You have 5 minutes available. Inside, they sat uncomfortably on my couch while I stood with my arms crossed. We apologize. My mother began. We should not have exploited your generosity. My father acknowledged with a nod. We have experienced significant losses, including our condominium. vehicle, and savings. We have relocated to Kevin's residence, which is quite limited in space. Your mother is required to sleep on a pull-out couch. My mother stated that the country club has revoked our membership. All of our acquaintances are present there. They no longer make phone calls. The expenses associated with my medication have been significant in the absence of your insurance. My father continued. Medicare does not provide coverage for all services. I listened as they enumerated their losses, anticipating a genuine apology. It did not arrive. There was no acknowledgement of the harm caused, nor any admission of wrongdoing in the form of mockery. This is merely a record of their challenges and the insinuation that I was responsible for them. Is that all? I inquired about the moment they ultimately ceased speaking. My mother expressed a desire to rectify the situation. We have experienced significant challenges, Jordan. We have gained valuable insights from our experiences. Could you please specify which lesson you are referring to? They shared a brief exchange of glances. My father ultimately acknowledged that we should not have taken you for granted. The individuals involved should have exercised greater caution to avoid detection. No, I responded gently. You have not acquired any knowledge. What do you mean? My mother inquired, her voice elevating slightly. We have traveled a considerable distance to extend our apologies. No, you traveled this far to express how much you suffered without my financial support. You have not acknowledged the impact of your actions on my feelings. My father contended that we expressed our apologies, possibly due to discovery rather than the actions taken. I inhaled deeply. Over the past 6 months, I have reflected extensively on the characteristics of a healthy family. This is not the case. It is inappropriate to treat your child as a source of financial gain and to speak about her in a derogatory manner when she is not present. My mother's expression became stern. Will you continue to impose penalties on us? Could you please address a few humorous remarks we made? This should not be considered a form of punishment. I am taking measures to safeguard myself from individuals who have demonstrated a lack of concern for my best interests. We are your parents, my father stated, as though that clarified everything. I was your daughter, not a financial resource. I approached the door and opened it. I sincerely wish you all the best. I trust you will discover a method to maintain a comfortable lifestyle within your financial means. Regrettably, I must withdraw from your lives moving forward. Surely, you cannot mean that, my mother whispered, her eyes welling with tears. Your assistance is required. This is the issue at hand. My presence is not required. My services align with your requirements. There is a distinction. My father rose, his earlier remorse giving way to anger. Is that all there is? Given everything we've achieved on your behalf, is that all there is? Could you please clarify what contributions you have made on my behalf? Father, could you elaborate on the contributions you have made, apart from the ones you have consistently received? He did not provide a response. As they exited the door, my mother glanced back. This decision may lead to regret. Jordan, in the end, family is what remains paramount. I shook my head in rejection. Negative, mother. Family is intended to be comprised of individuals who provide unconditional love and support. I have established a familial bond with my friends. The proposal you presented was merely a transactional exchange. I closed the door and leaned against it, attentively listening to their footsteps recede down the path. I anticipated experiencing feelings of guilt or sorrow. Conversely, I experienced a profound sense of tranquility. The ATM has been permanently closed. And for the first time in my adult life, I experienced a profound sense of freedom.